In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes, and swam away, leaving Whiskers content and purring in the sun. The stage was set for a highly anticipated interview on the popular late-night talk show, 𝐃𝐄𝐒𝐿, hosted by the outspoken and controversial liberal commentator Jordan Matthews. The guest of honor for the night was none other than country music superstar Carrie Underwood. Known for her incredible vocal talent and humble persona, Underwood was no stranger to the public eye. But tonight, Matthews seemed determined to use her platform to push an agenda that was sure to spark a bit of controversy. The episode was promoted heavily in the days leading up to the show, with viewers excited to see Underwood, an icon in the country music scene, take the hot seat. It had been a while since Carrie had made a major public appearance, and people were eager to hear what she had been up to. However, Matthews had a reputation for challenging his guests with tough questions that often veered into uncomfortable territory. As the show began, Matthews greeted his audience with his usual sharp wit. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have one of the most successful country music artists in history, a woman whose voice has captivated millions across the globe. But beyond her music, she's also a conservative figure in a world that increasingly celebrates progressive ideals. Let's see what happens when we try to put her world views to the test." Carrie sat down with a polite smile, looking every bit the picture of grace. She wore a simple yet elegant outfit, her blonde hair styled in soft waves, her demeanor calm and composed. Matthews, on the other hand, was already setting the tone for the evening with his usual smirk, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "Carrie," he began, leaning forward, "you've built your career on being the quintessential American sweetheart. But in a time when we're facing unprecedented challenges around climate change, inequality, and so much more, your political leanings, especially your conservative views, seem out of step with the direction the country is moving in. Tell us, how do you reconcile your beliefs with the pressing need for change?" Carrie blinked, taken aback slightly by the directness of the question. She had been expecting some political questions, but Matthews had a reputation for making things personal. She composed herself quickly, her voice steady as she responded. "Well, Jordan, I think everyone's entitled to their own opinions, right? And I've always believed that music is about bringing people together, not dividing them. I don't try to force my views on anyone, and I try to stay true to my values while respecting others' right to think differently." Matthews wasn't satisfied with that answer. He leaned in even further, pushing her again. "But Carrie, that's the problem, isn't it? We're in a moment where those different opinions are actively contributing to real harm. The climate crisis, racial inequality, these are urgent issues. Don't you feel an obligation to speak out more clearly, to take a stand?" Carrie's calmness didn't waver. "I do speak out in my own way, Jordan. Through my music, through charity, work, and by trying to lead by example. I'm not here to push an agenda or be part of a political game. I'm here to create music that resonates with people from all walks of life." Jordan Matthews wasn't about to let up. He had prepared for this. He pressed on, his tone growing more sarcastic. "So, you're basically saying you'd rather stay neutral in the face of all of this, when your platform could actually be used to help make a difference? I find that pretty disappointing, Carrie." The audience was silent, waiting for Carrie's response. Matthews had landed a punch, but Underwood, with all her poise, didn't let it rattle her. She paused for a moment, then smiled softly before responding. You know, Jordan, it's interesting you say that, because I've found that when you're constantly shouting about what's wrong, you might just be missing the opportunity to do something right. Carrie's voice was calm, but there was a subtle edge to her words that carried weight. Matthew's expression shifted for just a second, but he quickly recovered, trying to get the conversation back on track. So you think just standing by and not speaking out is enough? Carrie met his gaze, unflinching. No, I didn't say that. What I said was that it's about the way you make change happen. If you want to use your voice to make a difference, you have to do it in a way that connects with people. Yelling at them and calling them out doesn't always bring people to the table. Sometimes it's about finding common ground, working together. It's not about division. It's about progress. A ripple of murmurs passed through the audience. It was clear that Matthews had underestimated the strength of Carrie's conviction. She wasn't simply backing down. She was standing her ground in a way that was both calm and unapologetic. Let me ask you this, Carrie, Matthews said, trying to regain control of the conversation. Do you believe that the policies promoted by the conservative wing of the country are helping those most in need? With rising inequality and social unrest, don't you think it's time for a change in how we approach things? Carrie paused, her gaze never leaving Matthews. She wasn't going to let him turn her into a political pawn. You know, Jordan, what I believe is that policies don't change people's hearts. People change people's hearts. What's most important to me is that we show kindness, compassion, and understanding. That's how real change happens. It's not always about political policies. It's about how we treat each other every day. The audience was now fully engaged, some nodding in agreement, others clearly still unsure of what to make of Carrie's words. Matthews, sensing that he was losing control of the narrative, tried one last time to bait her into a heated argument. So, you're telling me that kindness will solve the world's problems? No policy changes needed, just kindness? Carrie smiled again, this time with a hint of playfulness in her eyes. Jordan, kindness doesn't solve everything, but it's the first step, and you'd be surprised how far a little bit of it can go. The response was swift and sharp, like a clapback that could be heard across social media. The audience erupted into applause, some standing up to cheer for Carrie's composed and powerful answer. Matthews, momentarily taken aback, tried to regain his footing, but the energy in the room had shifted. His attempt to humiliate Underwood had failed spectacularly. Instead, she had turned the conversation into a reflection on values, humanity, and the power of positivity. As the show wrapped up, the internet buzzed with reactions to the interview. Clips of Carrie's epic clapback went viral, shared across platforms with captions like, "Carrie Underwood shuts down talk show host in epic fashion and the best clapback of the year." Fans flooded Twitter and Instagram with messages of support, praising her for her grace under pressure and her unwavering conviction. The following days saw the interview discussed widely on news outlets, talk shows, and social media. While Matthews attempted to brush off the incident with a few snarky comments, the public had already made up its mind. Carrie Underwood had won, not by being defensive or confrontational, but by staying true to her principles and responding with a mix of intelligence, grace, and quiet power. For Carrie, the fallout from the interview wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about staying authentic to herself and her beliefs. The viral moment wasn't just a clapback, it was a reminder that sometimes the most effective way to make your voice heard is to be calm, thoughtful, and uncompromising in your truth. In the end, Jordan Matthews' attempt to humiliate Carrie Underwood had only served to highlight the strength of her character, turning a potentially awkward moment into one of her most memorable and empowering public moments. As the days passed, the fallout from the interview continued to ripple across the media landscape. Carrie Underwood's epic Clapback had captured the public's imagination in a way that very few celebrity moments ever did. The viral video of the exchange between her and Jordan Matthews circulated relentlessly on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Headlines from entertainment outlets buzzed with praise for Carrie, and her name was trending for days. Her response had been calm yet powerful, a masterclass in how to handle confrontation with grace. Many fans, particularly those who had admired Carrie for years, felt a deeper connection to her now. It wasn't just her music anymore. It was the way she stood her ground, refused to be intimidated, and maintained her integrity under pressure. Her message resonated with a wide variety of people, even those who didn't necessarily agree with her political views. Across social media, people were dissecting the interview, analyzing every word, and sharing their own thoughts on the exchange. What was clear was that Carrie's demeanor had been one of quiet strength, and it had won her the respect of both her fans and many people who had previously doubted her. As time passed, the viral moment that had catapulted Carrie Underwood to even greater heights continued to echo throughout the media. She had in many ways redefined what it meant to be a public figure who navigated controversy with dignity. Her response to Jordan Matthews wasn't just a viral clapback. It was a lesson in resilience and authenticity that resonated with people across different walks of life. While the dust settled on the public spectacle behind the scenes, Carrie remained as humble as ever. Her team, knowing how the viral moment had brought even more attention to her, encouraged her to capitalize on the momentum. But Carrie wasn't focused on the accolades or the attention. She remained grounded, focusing on the things that mattered most to her: her family, her faith, and her music. Her social media presence, always filled with positivity, took on a more reflective tone in the aftermath. Carrie began posting more about the deeper messages she wanted to share with her audience. She opened up about the importance of kindness, not just in public, but in personal relationships too. She shared stories of how her faith had guided her throughout her career and personal life. It was clear that the viral interview had prompted her to reflect even more deeply on her own beliefs and how she could use her platform to inspire people, not just entertain them. In a subsequent interview with a prominent magazine, Carrie was asked about the viral moment with Jordan Matthews. She reflected on it with characteristic grace, saying, "It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about staying true to myself. I've always tried to let my work speak for itself. The beauty of this moment is that it's not about dividing people or making them feel like they need to choose a side. It's about encouraging understanding, even when we disagree." Those words, simple yet profound, seemed to encapsulate everything Carrie stood for. She wasn't out to defeat Matthews or anyone else for that matter. She was simply standing in her truth, and in doing so, she had won the respect of millions. In the months that followed, Carrie released a new album, and it became an instant success, breaking records on streaming platforms and earning rave reviews from critics. The album wasn't overtly political, but there was an unmistakable theme of unity, resilience, and hope that echoed throughout its tracks. Her songwriting seemed more personal, more introspective, as if Carrie had taken the lessons learned from her viral moment and woven them into her music. Fans and industry insiders alike noted how her music seemed to speak to the times. There was a sense of quiet power in the way she expressed herself, and it was clear that her public image had shifted from just being a country music icon to being a beacon of positivity in a world that often felt fractured. She wasn't afraid to be real about her struggles, her beliefs, and her journey, and in turn, her authenticity endeared her to a new generation of listeners. Meanwhile, Jordan Matthews' show underwent a shift as well. His ratings, which had plummeted after the interview, never fully recovered. He attempted to address the controversy with a few mea culpa moments on air, but the damage was already done. His once loyal viewers began to turn away, not just because of his treatment of Carrie, but because they sensed his willingness to push divisive agendas rather than foster meaningful conversations. As his show's format evolved, Matthews tried to pivot toward lighter topics, hoping to regain his audience, but it was clear that the trust had been broken. His attempt to humiliate Carrie Underwood, a calculated move that he thought would earn him political points, had backfired. It became an example of how, in the age of social media and viral moments, miscalculations in public interactions could result in long-lasting damage to one's career. Carrie, on the other hand, emerged from the whole experience unscathed and even more beloved. Her approach to handling the situation was a masterclass in how to rise above negativity and stay focused on what truly matters. Her fans, who had long admired her for her humility and generosity, now admired her even more for her ability to remain centered in the face of adversity. She had proven that strength wasn't always about confrontation. It was about quiet resolve, authenticity, and kindness. As the year drew to a close, Carrie Underwood's legacy as not only a country music superstar but also as a public figure with integrity had solidified. She continued to receive invitations for interviews, but she was now selective about the platforms she engaged with. She no longer felt the need to explain herself or justify her beliefs. Instead, she used her appearances to talk about the things that mattered most to her: family, faith, music, and kindness. As the year drew to a close, Carrie Underwood's legacy as not only a country music superstar but also as a public figure with integrity had solidified. She continued to receive invitations for interviews, but she was now selective about the platforms she engaged with. She no longer felt the need to explain herself or justify her beliefs. Instead, she used her appearances to talk about the things that mattered most to her: family, faith, music, and kindness. Her new approach to public life began to inspire other celebrities, especially those from similar conservative backgrounds, to stand firm in their beliefs while embracing a message of unity over division. In interviews and social media posts, Carrie's fans echoed her sentiments about the importance of listening to different perspectives and finding common ground. People from all political stripes were drawn to her message of respect and understanding, a refreshing change from the polarized rhetoric often seen in public discourse. As for Jordan Matthews, while his show continued to air, it was clear that his approach to celebrity interviews had changed. He began shifting toward a more balanced and less combative style, perhaps in an attempt to win back some of the audience he had lost. But for many, it was too little, too late. The viral into serve as a reminder of how easily public perception could shift when an interviewer underestimated their guest. Matthews had played his hand poorly, and the consequences had reshaped his career in ways he never anticipated. Carrie Underwood, however, had nothing to prove. She had stood firm, responded with grace, and moved on without bitterness or resentment. The interview had only reinforced what many already knew about her. She was a woman of conviction, integrity, and quiet strength, and in the end, That was more powerful than any viral moment could ever be.